Good afternoon. Woo, that's hot. All right, I'll let them adjust me as they go. I am Nike Greene. I'm so excited to be in your presence. I am humbled to be in your presence. And so before I start, I want to make sure you just know that each of us have to face our inner child from the very beginning. And the reason this is so important to us is that we literally can't put a Band-Aid on this. On our hurt, our pain, our lived experiences. And for so many of us, unfortunately, we settled for surviving. And that is the only testimony that we have. But I hope today, as I become transparent and vulnerable before you, that it will just be a template of what you will be able to think about in your life, what areas that you want to bring a little bit more attention to, so that, like me, I had to free little Nike. And I had to realize I was no longer little Nike. So who's standing before you? I'm a wife of 4 children. They will always be my children. They're adults at this time. I am a grandmother of 4 beautiful, amazing grandkids who I do love more than my children. And I let them know that all the time. And yes, I am that grandma. They get away with murder. They can do whatever they want. They can burn down my house, and I'll tell you how beautiful the flames were. It is what it is. I just recently retired from being a basketball coach. Some of you guys noticed my bracelet. Basketball is life. So, you know, there's a side of me that's a little bit edgy. As I will talk a little bit, in a minute, there's a difference between just being ghetto and hood. I got a little bit of both in them. So you got to pray for me at times. Just know I have fully come into a place in my life that I am so satisfied on how God created me that I make no excuses. So I'm the youngest sister who did not experience being spoiled in the sense of most people, but I was very much thrown into an older sibling role. I'm a founder of a nonprofit, '05 graduate, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, life coach, author. I put these in front, but most importantly, this picture. Yeah, that's me, y'all, for real, for real. So for years, I have not been able to face my fears. And this is the most easiest one that I could actually have a picture of and put on display. I became very fearful of heights. And I would be paralyzed in that I would be literally immobilized. I was up in Seattle when we paid all the way up to get to the little Space Needle. Yeah, I got to the top and I said, the whole thing is falling down, literally. I had a complete panic attack and got right back on the elevator, cut everybody, because no, you're supposed to wait. There was no waiting. And so I decided during my healing process that's ever moving and evolving as I come to know more parts of myself, that I would conquer that fear. And so that's my crazy self in Jamaica, hanging upside down on a zip line saying, I'm done with that. So I'm trying to warm y'all up, right? I want y'all to know that, there's some crazy and fun sides to my life as I begin. But I want you to be aware that in this session, I'm going to deal with some sensitive and potentially triggering themes. They can possibly cause you some emotional distress. You might feel a flashback, a trigger, right? And get right back to that memory. And so I'm going to give you some tips up front. This is how, in the world of trauma, we make sure that we bring our brain back into the present time. Because when you're triggered, you usually fall back to a memory. And so I want you to remind you that you are at DeVos NC1, you're in Grand Rapids, you are sitting at a table with someone who is definitely a partner with you in ministry, and that you're okay. So you can do this to your brain by drinking water, by putting both your feet directly on the floor so that your brain knows that it's actually touching ground. You can also do this by taking 3 slow, deep breaths, right? And then there's a tapping method, which is, again, these are all different types of tools to bring you back into the present reality. And so you can tap gently. Now, if you're slapping your legs and pounding, probably means you need to get up, go outside, and not beat yourself, all right? But we do want to make sure that you are mindful of yourself and that you take care of yourself. With that said, some of us are professional runaways, okay? And so I want you to get to a point where you start knowing how to be uncomfortable and comfortable being uncomfortable. And so the other part is if you feel like, I don't know what's going on, pick up your pen and write. Just start writing, free-flowing. If you do need to excuse yourself, please make sure you do that. And if you have an accountability person in your group already, tap them and say, check on me in 2 or 3 minutes. If I don't come back, come get me or check on me. Is that okay? All right, let's dive into this. All right, so my husband and I, we were married. We have 2 different histories. It was not the hookup that most people have. We were sitting in the car, we were talking, and I was like, man, your life is real. He was like, yeah, your life is real. Like, we should do this. So it wasn't romantic. I didn't get, all the things that everybody has now, the one knee, bow down. But we knew that God had put us together. We knew there was something for us to do. What we didn't know was how to do that. And so unlike all of y'all here, we would have different times where we would have arguments, heated conversations. Oh, y'all real bougie. Y'all got some good marriages. So I'm just going to look forward. So this is about year 3. We have a 3-year-old and we have a, I think she's maybe 6, 7 months, and we're arguing. I don't remember what we're arguing about because it was never nothing really serious. But so we're arguing, blah, 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 blah. I'm loud, but when loud people know they're yelling, that's a problem. And so I'm loud, he loud, and then we felt, okay, this is elevating, and I can feel it. And so he gets up because he wants to shut the door, because we would try to act like we were good parents and never argue in front of our kids as if our house was not soundproof. And so he begins to get up, and he pauses and he stands in front of me in the midst of the argument. And then he grabs both of my wrists, and his face changes, and I'm looking at him like, what's that? And he says to me, I'm not him. I would never hit you. Now, in that moment, I could have simply, yeah, my bad. But God's working on me. So I was like, what you mean you not him? And he's like, look at your fist. And I looked down at my hands, and I was shaking, and they were balled up so tight, clenched, that we call them white knuckles, right? They were balled up so tight, and I realized something was wrong. And in that moment again, I should have just received it, but because I've been a fighter all my life, I was so mad. I'm like, nah, buddy, no. You just want to win this argument. I'm about to win this argument. You're changing the subject. He said, babe, I'm not him. You got to go get some help. I didn't say anything at that moment because I could feel anger and frustration rolling up inside of me. And I'm like, get help. And I'm processing what he's saying, but I'm trying to figure out the argument at hand because I'm trying to win this argument. But my fists are clenched, and he's telling me I need to get help. And then he has the audacity to continue and say, if you're ever going to be the best you that God has ever created you to be, you're going to have to get healed. You're going to have to free yourself. If you're ever going to be, you told me that you didn't want generational curses passing down to our kids. If you're ever going to experience that, you got to get help. Now, again, I need help more than he knew, because I felt like this is the pot calling the kettle black. You trying to call me broke? You broke. We both broke. What? Who is you to tell me that I need to get help? Because 2 reasons I was very angry in that moment. Number one, I know who him was. Because him was the man that I was with prior to my husband, who I thought was my knight in shining armor, who ended up starting with, because you got to understand, I've been a baller all my life. All my friends was dudes. All I did was carry a basketball. All I did was stay at the park, and we rolled. So when this dude shows up, and he's 6'2", and he's black, and he's bald-headed, and this before Idris was Idris, it was Idris, I was like, that's him. I didn't need a check. I didn't need confirmation. I didn't need oil. I didn't need prayer. I just wanted this man. And then I got all of that man. And that man turned into a push, and I excused it because he said, man, your mouth. And I'm like, yeah, you know, you're right. My mouth is a bit much because I can be woo-woo. So, yeah, you're right. You pushed me. It's my fault. That's my bad. I'm going to work on my mouth. Then the push turned into a shove, which turned into a punch, which turned into drowning me, which turned into my head being butt up to a brick wall, which turned into him breaking his sister's arm, who is trying to stop him from beating me senseless and lifeless. But I got my him. And now I'm in a marriage. And you're telling me to become whole? The second part of that is you're asking me to be something I don't even know what it looks like. You're asking me to be healed, but I don't know because, see, my history didn't start with him. My trauma started way back when I lived in the Ville. And the Ville, for y'all, that's our projects. That's where gangs very started in Portland. And we lived by all this overexposure. If you understand the public health model, these were all the pollutions and the exposures in my life. I know what it's like to be on Section 8. I know what it's like to stand in the line. We thought we was rich, y'all. We thought everybody went to the thrift store. We thought everybody had to borrow clothes. We thought everybody had to check out the purple and the brown and the food stamps. I know EBT, but we was rocking back then. We got coupons. So I understood how to be overexposed. So when you tell me to be healthy, but when I go to my school and there's no books, and when I'm told everything that I cannot be, and then I went to a church, pray for me when I do this part. When I went to a church, well, the pastor was a bishop who was abusing his wife, and they had drugs in the pulpit, and the elders were telling me that my legs was cute. And one of the deacons was beating his wife so much that they just told her she would be a little more sweet. But you want me to get healed. I don't even know what that looks like. Because all my life I had to. So you want me? I thought surviving was enough. I acknowledged my pain. Wasn't that enough? But you want me to deal with my past? In front of everybody? I'm the fixer. I'm a leader. I train people. I don't even, wait, hold up. How am I supposed to do this again? You just told me, go get healed. Fix all this stuff. But my mom isn't even from here, and she not black, and she tell me we don't do therapy. So what are you talking about, get healed? I done been through 10 lines, and they done prayed over me. They anointed me. Man, they done already prophesied that I was going to be this and that and that. I'm walking in my anointing, and I'm still not enough. I'm tired of not being enough. So you want me to do more and more and more. So I know we would rather us talk about trauma in a way that sounds pretty. But me working with my pain, y'all, was painful. And I say this because I had no model, I had no roadmap, and I came to DeVos in 2005, and I had my stuff together. Together. Unlike y'all a mess. I was perfect. I had mastered the mask. I knew exactly how to act and behave. I know how to clap and shout. I know how to reframe and jump in and jump out. I know exactly what to say because I've been hood. I said just not ghetto, but I know how to be hood. So I can watch an audience and be like, yeah, okay. I got you. I know your number. Oh, yeah, you need that? Okay, I got you. Because when you're broken for so long, you learn how to survive, but you never learn how to thrive. So I said, well, maybe I should actually do a thing. So I'm a person that, see, when you lose power, you exchange it for control. and all my life I had no power, so I leant toward control. I got to control everything because you're not going to hurt me. And before you hurt me, don't worry, I will step out or we're going to fight. One of the two is going to happen. So I got to negotiate my time and my space. So when I come to things like this, yeah, I engage at the level I want to engage because I'm never going to be vulnerable because I'm not going to allow another person to hurt me. Wait. Let me make it even very, very clear. You don't know me because your story ain't like mine because you know what? I'm a unique. Ain't nobody in this room got a story like mine. It's called the isolation testimony that the enemy lies to you to make you think that you're so peculiar. You're so the only one. And don't nobody else, every word can't hit you because only God knows you. So it keeps you isolated. But let me hurry up and run through this because I got you. I'm doing this. So I go into therapy for the first time, and it was very difficult because there were no black therapists. And so I'm trying to find, then I'm like, Portland is small, and I don't want to talk about it because folks is nosy. And anybody that knows me and my husband and my family, we're unfortunately quite known for a 1,000 things. They'll catch us somewhere. So I'm like, nah, I don't trust them. They say confidentiality. They lying. They telling somebody. So I go all the way out to what we call our Beaverton area. That's where all the rich white folks stay. I'm like, they don't know none of us. I'm going to hide out here and see what this therapist can do. So I'm like, I got 10 sessions. I'm going to tell her what I want to work on, and I'm done. Because I got to control this too. I ain't got time to break down. I got 4 kids. People are depending on me. I got to make sure this youth program is correct. I got to make sure that my house is run right. I got to make sure that all the jobs that I'm doing stay up front so I ain't got time to break down. Commercial break. See, when you describe therapy and working on healing, breaking down, that can tell you where I was. So I walked in. I said, okay, let's deal with him. She said, oh, I'm sorry. Him is only the surface. She said, tell me about your earliest childhood memory. I'm like, mind your business. Because what I did not know in just such a question like that, it did not take me to the joyous occasion, because if you know anything scientifically about our brain, it is those emotions that are the strongest that elevate your memory the fastest. And so I began to say, I was 6 years old, and I was in the swimming pool with my brother there, and I had my favorite swimsuit on, and I was so proud to be there, and the grandpa of the pool ushered me over, and I began to get on his lap, and he began to throw me in the pool, and then I would count to 3, and he would throw me in the pool, and then he let me use his goggles, and then I counted to 3, and then he didn't throw me in the pool, and I counted to 3, and I yelled harder, and he didn't throw me in the pool, and maybe grandpa forgot how to play this game, and so I looked at grandpa, but now his face has changed, and he squeezes my hips down further, and now a 6-year-old is feeling something coming between her legs that a 6-year-old should never feel. So we are here to talk about him. She said, you are a professional deflector. And so at 6 years old, I go home, they call the police, and my mom does everything right. And she looks at me, and she brings a bear out, and she says, did he touch you here? Did he touch you there? And I looked at my mom, and I remembered everything that I saw on TV. We used to watch Matlock. I'm aging myself. And I said, okay, wait, somebody's going to go to jail, and I don't want mama to go to jail, and I don't want to go to jail. And I looked my mom in her eyes, and I said, he did nothing. Because my mom couldn't protect me. My brother didn't protect me, and therefore I, at 6 years old, decide I have to protect myself. And so from 6 all the way to 16, nothing happened. We never talked about it ever again. I have other incidents that occurred in my life, and at 16, I decided I don't want to be here anymore. Because no one would miss me, because I became a performer for love. As long as I'm doing well, they love me, and all I got to do is hide everything, and being an athlete does not help, because it reinforced that all you got to do is shake it off. You know what? Fake it till you make it. The problem is, I don't know if I ever made it or if I ever stopped faking it. So I continue with this pain to never talk about it. So then at 16, I decide to take my life because I don't know what else to do, and no one else is talking about. The church don't talk about none of this stuff because they only say God is good all the time, and all the time God is, but what happens when you feel God is not good? So I tried to commit suicide. I'm here, so it didn't work, just in case. I take pills, and again, hospital, come out, and we don't talk about it. Matter of fact, the questions were about everyone else. Why would you do that to me? Would you not consider the impact you'd have if you weren't here? And so when I get into my senior year of high school, I'm literally being recruited by D1 colleges. I was a dope basketball player. I'm just going to let y'all know. We could go one-on-one, but I'm broken on the inside. I'm having nightmares. I don't know how to engage with folks, and I feel like the ugliest person on earth. I've been told that I'm not black enough, I'm not white enough. I'm told that my forehead is too big. I'm told my hair is a hot mess. All I wore was sweats and T-shirts and baggies, and I blamed it on my athleticism, but it was actually a defense mechanism because I felt like if I looked more like a boy, then I would never be violated again. So I was always on the defense, and I forgot to mention the parallel story. I'm in church. I'm helping teach Sunday school at a very early age. I can quote all the scriptures. I'm in the sunshine band singing in my yellow. I can do it all, y'all. But I had to go through a process. And then I had to recognize whether or not trauma was in my life. So ask yourself, are you hypervigilant? Do you still walk around? Do you make sure you know where all the exits are, but you call that street? Do you have nightmares? Is there a lack of intimacy? And as we have said before, I'm not talking about sex, I'm talking about intimacy. Do you have the ability to be intimate, emotionally vulnerable, that it's reciprocal, to be able to move, to be able to activate, to understand another one? Are you got substance abuse? I know nobody in here, because we always talk about alcohol and all that, but let's be real. Some of us just, I won't say y'all and nobody in this room, but you might got a cousin, because the church love to be hooked on pain meds and muscle relaxers and, okay, I'm too close. Anger. See, anger doesn't just show up in a fight. Anger shows up in control. So your silence is also anger in your control, because you know how to say, oh, I just won't say nothing. Irritability. Everybody irritates you. I irritate you right now. You don't like the sound of my voice. You're like, if she was just a little bit more dainty and quiet, I could really hear what she's saying. She's just so aggressive. It's okay. Flashbacks. Some of you, as I was talking, you were thrown right back there, resistant to touch. And when it gets real bad, you recognize that your kids will try to touch you and you'll push them away. I'm just not a hugger. You're hurt. People shake your hand, the first thing you do is draw back. You know that's not how we were made. Some people are just too touchy-feely. The oversight of that is now you have zero boundaries. And you want to touch and hug everybody because you need it, not because they do. You hugging kids and they like, stop. And you're like, oh, I'm trying to show you love. No, you need that hug. Let go. They don't need it. You needed it. So I had to deal with my trauma. I'm going to pause real quick. So I'm going to get into this and we're going to be done. You're asking me to be whole. Where's my role model? See, I couldn't go to the church to be whole because they didn't tell their real testimonies. So I'm going to get real just for 20 seconds. I'm watching. Woo, we got to move. Okay. Yes, I've been molested. Yes, I've been raped. Yes, I've literally experienced DV. I have watched people die on the ground from exposure from gunshot wounds to stabbings. I've done all that. And then I find a man that I really, really think is everything, and I just graduated, and I'm supposed to be on my way to college because I'm supposed to be that one from the hood that's about to represent everybody. Go do your thing. Matter of fact, half the folks on my block that was all in the gangs, they'd be like, hey, you can't touch her. She going to college, man. Come on, do your thing, man. Let her through, dudes. Don't mess with her. And then I get pregnant. So now what? So I'm going to give you the fast version. So all you religious folks, I just hold your ears, cover them real quick. I don't want to offend you, but I do. So I get pregnant, but I'm supposed to go to college. What do? So I go to someone, and I'm like, hey, I really don't know what to do. And that person shoves me. Now, I'm just rough, so not like abusive shove. Shoves me like, man, what the, different words back then. I'm delivered. Like, what the F? What you doing? Like, come on, bruh. You supposed to be here. Yap. $200, go take care of that. So I do that. But the problem is halfway through the procedure, I can't handle it. So I began to crawl on the back of the table, and they come in and they hold me down, and they tell me to shut up. They need to finish the process so that they could get the rest of it out. Now, I told you I'm messed up, y'all, so you just got to pray for me, because I'm still thinking that because I was raised without a daddy, I need this man in my life. And so I'm back 6 months later. And this time, he's like, I'll take you, because I ain't having no kids. Now, why? Do I go to the church mother about this? Because, see, I've committed the worst sins ever, and you want me to be whole. I've tried to commit suicide, and you said my God is not big enough for that, so that means the only thing I got is hell. And now I've done an abortion, not one but two. And so, again, another greatest sin that my God, the one that you gave me, is not big enough for it, and his grace is not sufficient. So where do I get whole? How do I stop the nightmares of babies that I've heard? Literally, and nightmares of pushing me back there, because the only reason I'm in my position, according to y'all, is because I've sinned. And you want me to be whole? But I came to a point, y'all, that I said, you know what? I don't want to bleed on anybody anymore. I can't take anyone where I've never been. I'm a hypocrite. I'm telling people to be healed, but I'm not healed. I'm telling people to become their best self and their full self in God and experience all that God has you, but I have all these walking wounds, and all I try to do is mask it. And if you're not careful, you'll never get healed as long as you benefit from your trauma. So you love talking about it. You like carrying the cane, the crutches of life, so people can say, what's wrong with her? Oh, she's been through. It's okay. We just deal with it. I don't want to be a deal with her person. I want to be everything God has called me to be. And I don't want to carry, as Ron said, I don't want to carry unforgiveness with me for the rest of my life. I don't want to have nightmares the rest of my life. I don't want to not ever live up to my full potential, because I'm going to pass that down to my children. So I call it out. And I walked this thing out, and it was hard because I had to figure out where was Jesus in my trauma. I am Martha. Where were you? If you would have been here, my Lazarus wouldn't have died. And I filled that in with everything in my life. If you were really God, you was here. I wouldn't have been raped. I wouldn't have been molested if you were here. And guess what? My God, not y'all's God, but my God was big enough for me. He said, I can handle the hard questions. The fact that you're talking to me tells me you still believe in me, and you know that my grace is sufficient. You know I'm the balm in Gilead. Okay, 7 minutes. Can my peoples come up here, please? Where my peoples at? They know who they are. Listen. Because I don't want y'all to think I don't know what I'm doing. So I want you to understand why I behave the way I behave, because our brain is wired. Come on up and just sit on stage in these seats. I'm going to introduce y'all in a minute. because I got 7 minutes. We're going to knock this out. So our brain, right? So I want to just talk about the 3 points. Our prefrontal cortex, right? This is where our abstract thinking, problem solving, planning, all that is happening all up here. And then we have what we call our limbic system, where there's our amygdala, right? Our decision making, our emotional memories. It regulates our behavior, initiates our fear response. And then there's the hippocampus, which is memory consolidation, and it helps us navigate spatial memory and learning. But I want to tell you what does our brain looks like in trauma. And I got 6 minutes to do this. So, y'all know Mike? All right. So 305, now Mike is going to be our prefrontal cortex because Mike is so smart and is intelligent. And so Cortez is like, hey, look, critical thinking, analyze a situation. What's really going on here? Pause for a moment. Let's figure this thing out, right? So I want you to understand, everybody say Cortez. That's our prefrontal cortex. Then we got amygdala. Now I used to call her Amy, but we're going to call her Mimi, all right? So Mimi is the amygdala. Mimi's job is when we're on trauma, she scans the room looking for a threat. She wants to say, hey, we're going to make a decision. She's actually the decision maker. This is just the thoughts. Cortez likes to inform Mimi how to do things and what to do. And let's think this out. Let's count back from 10. Let's calm down, everybody. We got this, right? So Mimi's going to scan the room, and then she's going to do some other things to help us out. But then we got our hippocampus. We got our hype man. Come on, Jason. So Jason is our hippocampus, but we're going to have him be, that we're just going to call him hype, okay? So he has a role to play. So let me explain to you what happens when trauma happens, okay? So when my husband got up to shut the door, Amy jumped up. Mimi said, hey, there's a threat in the room. He's coming to get you. And she set an alarm off. So hype jumps up in the brain. Come on, hype. And they say, oh, wait a minute. They take Cortez and like, dude, it's time to survive. So they put him in the back seat of your brain. And they take over the driving. All right? And so what Amy says is, okay, we're in a full threat, so let me do this. Let me send blood and oxygen to all your muscles and remove it from any other bodily part that's not needed in order to survive. They set the alarm off, and Mimi's like, hey, what you want to do? You want to fight? Do you want to run? Are you going to become immobile? What you doing do right now, Nike? I said, oh, I got you. I'm going to fight. So I clenched my fist, and hype said, hey, I got you. Because this is real, and he's a little bit bigger than you. So now that you got all your blood and your oxygen functioning, I'm going to now give you cortisol so you ain't got to feel the pain. I wish y'all. Hey, God has made our brain dope, y'all, right? So hype is like, I got all you, y'all, so now I'm going to make sure. But there's one problem. While I'm working on keeping you safe and giving you cortisol, I really don't got time to do my job, which is to keep memory. So as Mimi is like, it's time to work, Cortez has now been diminished, and he's trying to go, it's not a threat. It's not a threat. It's your husband. And hype is like, hey, do you smell him? He smell like that dude. She sound like that dude. All you got to do is survive. And we're going to give you the cortisol so you don't feel it, so you don't numb it. And see, the problem is that in the natural sense, that's the best thing for our brain, right? Because if you're actually under attack, you've heard of folks like myself and that have complex trauma that when in Dee Dee situations, I was beaten so bad that I could see him swinging but could no longer feel it. Rape victims talk about at some point, they call it that I blacked out. I didn't feel nothing that they were doing because God has given us a protective mechanism. But the problem is when there's no threat, because you haven't dealt with your trauma, you perceive threats that are not threats. And if you're here today, you have felt threatened over things that have been said and how people have maneuvered, and your brain took you back and hype said, don't worry, I'm going to give you some cortisol so you ain't got to feel this. I'm going to give you an excuse. So I'm going to make you think you sick, but you're not sick. You escaping healing. You don't want to deal with your issues. I got you. Everybody in here is a threat. Oh, yeah, she reminded you of the pastor. Oh, that song, don't sing that song because that song irritates me because I had too much church hurt to deal with this. So I'm just going to make sure. And so you go back into survival mode and never become what God has called you to be. So you're walking around wounded. And everybody that you're doing ministry with only get that 60% of you. And they get your blood that's dripping behind. No, I'm sorry. That was me, not you, because I know y'all all healed and you've dealt with all your stuff. But see, I wanted my husband to love me, and I don't know who truly I am until I truly got healed. There were parts of me that I didn't even know could be unveiled until I got healed. I didn't realize that there was a minister inside of me that has never been opened up, because I would never be a good mother. I would just be a mother that was broken. How can I stop a generational curse if I don't want to deal with it? So I had to find Jesus in my pain. I had to realize that I cannot allow my trauma brain to allow me to be exhausted and fight all the time. You know how tired it is to fight? Anybody exhausted? You tired of carrying the pain around? Tired of faking it till you make it? Tired of seeing the same old, same old? You just let it go, and you come to conference after conference, and you just keep ever getting but never an understanding? Always seeking something, well, I'm going to be me. You know, I don't care how hard you become an influencer. If God ain't in it, you are nothing. Everyone gets an ultimatum in their life, and today you're getting yours. You can continue on, broken in a hot mess, allowing that to spill down to the next generation, and worse yet, to your family and your children, to your community. You can say one thing and model the next. Or you can take the blue pill. You can actually imagine that every prophetic word, every dream, every revelation, everything that you wrote down can fully come to fruition if you deal with the ugliness of your life and you realize that some, not all, but some of those things were not your fault, and you are not a hot mess, and you're not dirty, and you're not messed up, and that God will take all of that, but you can go to a therapist and work this thing out. You can find Jesus in your pain. He is not absent. We're going to pray. I'm being obedient to the timer.